Anime has played a crucial role in rejuvenating and expanding vampire lore, allowing it to reach new and diverse audiences worldwide. Japanese animation has redefined traditional vampire myths through its distinctive storytelling, artistic style, and cross-cultural elements. Historically, vampire lore has often been rooted in Western traditions, featuring creatures with a dark, sinister essence. Vampires were traditionally depicted as evil monsters and responsible for the spread of disease and plague. Anime has innovated this archetype by infusing it with fresh narrative dynamics and cultural influences. In anime, vampires are not confined to the traditional image of evil, bloodthirsty monsters. They can be heroes, tragic figures, or even romantic leads. Anime's global reach has introduced these reimagined vampires to a broader audience by blending elements from Japanese folklore, fantasy, and modern societal issues. Anime has created a unique fusion that resonates with viewers across different cultures. Visually, anime's distinctive art style has revitalized vampire lore. The genre's emphasis on dramatic, vibrant visuals and dynamic action sequences enhances the allure of vampire characters, making them more engaging to a global audience. This visual appeal, combined with compelling storylines, has contributed to the widespread popularity of anime and its influence on modern vampire mythology. Vampires in anime are often portrayed with a distinct style that makes them visually compelling. Elaborate designs, vibrant colors, and exaggerated features enhance their otherworldliness, setting them apart from the dark, brooding look common in Western depictions. Vampire Knight. This series is set in a prestigious academy where humans and vampires coexist. The story follows Yuki Cross, a young girl who discovers her own vampire heritage while navigating the complex relations between humans and vampires. Vampire Knight adds complexity to the vampire narrative by exploring themes of coexistence, power dynamics, and identity. It presents a world where vampires and humans attend the same academy but are divided by secrecy and prejudice. It delves into the issues of class hierarchy and social stratification. The division between vampires and humans in Vampire Knight mirrors the rigid class systems often found in human societies. The pureblood vampires are at the top of the hierarchy, followed by the noble vampires and then the lesser vampires, while humans are often seen as prey or servants. This hierarchy reflects real-world issues like social status, privilege, and the alienation experienced by those in lower social classes. The white pureblood vampires wield power, and how their nobility grants them privileges echo the dynamics between elite and marginalized groups in society. It has racial and ethnic metaphors. The show plays with the ideas of purity and bloodlines, which are reminiscent of racial and ethnic purity in historical contexts. The fear of mixing bloodlines and the stigma associated with being a vampire human hybrid mirrors real world prejudices and the tension surrounding mixed identities. It identifies with the identity and humanity. The internal conflict of vampires who were once human, like Zero Kiryu, symbolizes struggles with identity and concept of what it means to remain human. This can represent societal pressures to conform and suppress one's true self, as well as the pain of losing one's identity in order to fit into a different, more accepted mold. The Unwanted Undead Adventurer enriches vampire narratives by depicting a gradual transformation from weak undead into vampire, focusing on growth, identity, and humanity. It subverts expectations by starting with an ordinary adventurer, exploring vampirism with a broader fantasy ecosystem, and redefining vampire powers through slow, earned progression. It differs from typical vampire stories by focusing on a gradual transformation process instead of an instant change. It explores rejection and the desire for recognition. The protagonist, Rent Fina, is transformed against his will into a lesser undead creature, initially a ghoul, then later evolving into a vampire. His status as a monster symbolizes the experience of being rejected by society, even when one's humanity remains intact. This metaphor resonates with themes of alienation and the yearning for recognition. The story asks questions like who deserves to be seen as a human and what defines humanity. Themes that parallel real world issues of social exclusion, prejudice, and the struggles of marginalized groups to assert their identities and be acknowledged for who they are. It amplifies the concept of transformation as self improvement. Brent's journey from a low level adventurer into an undead with powerful abilities symbolizes the idea of transformation as a form of self improvement. However, his transformation isn't always seen positively by others, which mirrors the societal resistance faced by those who undergo significant personal changes. This narrative critiques social structures that limited people based on their origins or appearance, suggesting that self worth and capability are intrinsic and should not be judged by external markers. It, and it also addresses societal fears of the unknown and dehumanization. The way Rent is treated by others after his transformation into an undead highlights the fear of the unknown and the tendency to dehumanize what society does not understand. Treatment he receives reflects social reactions to people who don't fit into the norm, whether due to their race, status, or even unconventional lifestyles. Vampirism here becomes a metaphor for being labeled and judged as lesser, based on external appearances, critiquing how fear and prejudice can warp perceptions of others. In the Monogatari series, the vampire narrative is intricately layered, serving as a vehicle for exploring themes of identity, trauma, desire, and the blurred boundaries between the monstrous and the human. The series uses supernatural elements like vampirism to delve into psychological struggles and social issues, making the vampire metaphor a powerful tool for examining human nature and society. Here are the deeper cultural meanings and implications of the vampire metaphors in the Monogatari series. Vampirism is used as a symbol of internal and external trauma. The protagonist, Koyomi, starts off as a human who becomes part vampire after a near-death encounter with a powerful vampire. This transformation is symbolic of internal and external trauma that fundamentally alters one's identity. In Monogatari, vampirism and other supernatural phenomena are often presented as manifestations of psychological trauma, unresolved emotions, or social issues. Koyomi's partial vampirism symbolizes the lasting scars of traumatic experiences and the tension between his human and monstrous sides, reflecting how trauma can blur the line between self and the other. It highlights the fluidity of identity and self. Vampirism in this series represents the instability and fluidity of identity. Koyomi's fluctuating state between human and vampire parallels the struggle to maintain a stable self-image amidst changing circumstances and the pressures of social expectations. This theme can be read as a commentary on adolescence, where personal identity is in constant flux. The series often uses the vampire metaphor to question the boundaries of what defines a person, and whether it is internal traits, external perceptions, or a balance of both. And it amplifies the ambiguity of good and evil. The Monogatari series challenges the conventional portrayal of vampires as purely evil by presenting them as complex beings with their own emotions, motivations, and ethical dilemmas. Koyomi's struggle to balance his vampiric urges with his desire to protect others illustrates the moral ambiguity inherent in power and desire. This ambiguity serves as a metaphor for the complexities of human nature, suggesting that everyone has monstrous aspects within them, and it's how one chooses to navigate these aspects that defines them. Vampires in Monogatari are not inherently evil. Instead, they reflect the nuanced spectrum of morality within every individual. I hope I have influenced you in the idea that anime has helped to evolve the traditional vampire narratives through nuanced themes such as coexistence, identity, and the struggle for control, making vampires less about horror and more about power, emotion, and transformation. Hopefully, you have been enticed to check out some of these series on your own to see what you think. Thank you.